Introduction. The silent revolution in our minds. We didn't hear it coming. No alarm sounded, no headlines screamed, the human mind is under siege. There was no sudden crash, no explosion, no dramatic takeover. It happened quietly, invisibly, almost beautifully. A new kind of revolution crept into our lives. Not a political one, not an economic one, a mental one. It came not with fire or fury, but with convenience, speed, and elegance, with words, with answers, with the seductive promise of doing our thinking for us, and we welcomed it. Tools like ChatGPT and other large language models appeared on the scene, and suddenly, life felt easier. Need help writing an email? Done. Want a quick summary of a complex book? Handled. Stuck on a creative idea? Here's a dozen. Confused about history, science, math, or relationships? Just ask. These machines don't just give you information, they give you completion, a sense of closure, an illusion of understanding, and they do it all without judgment, without ego, without fatigue. What could be wrong with that? The answer lies in the very thing we take for granted, our minds. You see, the human brain is not a storage device. It's not just a sponge that absorbs facts. It's a living, breathing system made to engage, wrestle, create, and struggle. Thinking is not just something we do. It's something that shapes who we are. Every time we question, reason, imagine, or doubt, we sculpt the architecture of our consciousness. But what happens when that process is slowly outsourced? What happens when you no longer need to think deeply because something else is thinking for you? This is the essence of the silent revolution we're living through. It's not that AI is evil. It's not that ChatGPT is out to destroy us. The machine doesn't have an agenda. It's just doing what it was built to do: provide fast, articulate, seemingly intelligent responses. The problem is us. We're changing. Without realizing it, we're shifting from thinkers to consumers of thought, from creators to editors, from explorers to passengers. We're learning to lean on a digital brain that never gets tired, and in doing so, we risk letting our own mental muscles atrophy. It's subtle. You won't notice it at first. It starts when you stop looking for answers yourself. It deepens when you stop questioning the answers you're given. It grows when you stop struggling with a blank page because a tool can write for you. And eventually you stop creating, learning, and even wanting to think on your own. That's the danger. Not a sudden collapse of human intelligence, but a slow, quiet decline. The kind that happens over years, maybe decades, as we become more fluent in what machines can do and more forgetful of what we used to do. This book isn't about blame. It's not a finger pointed at OpenAI or Google or the developers behind today's astonishing AI tools. In fact, these technologies are achievements worthy of awe, but awe must be followed by awareness, by caution, by conscious use. Because if we're not careful, we may find ourselves living in a world where the only intelligence left is artificial, and the real kind, the human kind, has become passive, dormant, or worse, forgotten. We are not at war with AI, but we are at a crossroads with ourselves. The silent revolution is already happening, not on our screens, but in our minds. And the first step to reclaiming them is to notice. This book is your invitation to step back, think deeper, and ask the hard questions, not of the machine, but of yourself. Are you still in control of your thoughts? Are you still doing the hard, beautiful human work of creating ideas? Are you using AI as a tool, or letting it use you? This is the story of that journey, and it starts with awareness. Quiet, powerful, human awareness. Welcome to the revolution. Let's wake up. Chapter 1. The Age of Convenience and Cognitive Laziness. Let's start with a truth we all quietly accept. We love shortcuts. From GPS to pre-cooked meals, from smartwatches to streaming services, we are a species deeply drawn to convenience. And who can blame us? Life is chaotic, time is limited, and the easier things become, the more we can supposedly do. But there's a hidden price tag on convenience. and we rarely pay attention until the damage is already done. The world we live in today is a playground of automation. We ask Alexa to turn on the lights. We tell Siri to set a reminder. We let Google Calendar manage our schedule. And now, with AI models like ChatGPT, we let machines think for us. What used to take hours of mental effort, drafting an essay, solving a problem, writing a report, brainstorming ideas, can now be done in seconds. We've eliminated the friction, and with it, something else is quietly disappearing. The need to struggle, the need to engage, the need to stretch the mind, the need to think. This chapter is not an attack on technology. It's an invitation to reflect on what we're sacrificing at the altar of convenience. The comfort trap. At first, it feels liberating. Why spend 30 minutes drafting a proposal when ChatGPT can do it in 3? Why read a full article when the AI can summarize it for you? Why brainstorm when the machine can spit out a list of 10 ideas in less time than it takes to blink? But here's the danger. Comfort quickly becomes complacency. You don't notice it immediately. Your calendar is still full. Your inbox is still managed. Your documents are still being written. It feels like you're being productive. But slowly, silently, you're outsourcing not just tasks, but thinking itself. The effort that once went into problem solving, articulating, and creating is now spent reviewing and editing machine output. It's a subtle shift, but over time, it rewires your mental habits. You become a passive observer in your own intellectual life. The brain, like a muscle, weakens when it's not used. Cognitive laziness, a new epidemic. Let's call it what it is, cognitive laziness. It's not about intelligence, it's about engagement. The modern world is creating conditions where you don't need to think deeply, and so you don't. Not because you can't, but because you've stopped exercising that part of yourself. It's the same principle behind physical fitness. You don't have to move much in today's world. You can work from your couch, order food with a tap, and stay entertained endlessly without leaving your bed. But the less you move, the more your muscles atrophy. Your brain is no different. When we choose the shortcut every time, we rob ourselves of the exercise that makes us mentally sharp, emotionally aware, and creatively alive. We stop being thinkers and start becoming managers of thought. Friction builds strength. It's easy to forget this, but friction is not the enemy. Friction is where growth lives. Think about the last time you struggled to solve a problem, really struggled. You may have been frustrated, exhausted, or tempted to quit. But when you finally figured it out, wasn't that moment rewarding? Didn't you feel smarter, more alive, more capable? Now imagine if you had handed that same problem to a machine instead. You would have saved time, yes, but what would you have lost? The victory of the struggle. The mental pattern building that only happens when your brain wrestles with a challenge. That's what strengthens neural connections. That's what deepens memory. That's what makes learning real. Convenience bypasses the struggle, and in doing so, bypasses the growth. The hidden cost of speed is seductive. In the digital world, everything happens instantly, and AI tools amplify this to a degree we've never seen before. But speed kills depth. You can get an answer in seconds. But do you understand it? You can generate ideas in moments, but are they yours? You can complete a task without effort, but did you learn anything? This is the paradox of the convenience era. We're doing more but becoming less. We're completing tasks faster but thinking slower. We're producing more content but creating less meaning. We're sprinting toward stagnation. Efficiency versus engagement. There's a difference between efficiency and engagement. Efficiency is about speed. Engagement is about depth. Efficiency is what machines are built for. Engagement is what the human brain is wired for. The problem is that we've confused the two. We think faster is better. But some of the most important things in life, relationships, wisdom, mastery, personal growth, cannot be rushed. They require time, struggle, focus, presence. When we chase convenience at all costs, we sacrifice that presence. We become mentally absent. We let tools do the heavy lifting and tell ourselves we're being smart. But being smart isn't about finding the quickest path. It's about knowing when to struggle and why. The rise of the input-output mind another. Consequence of this convenience culture is the emergence of what I call the input-output mind. We treat our brains like a search engine. Input a question, output an answer, simple, clean, efficient. But that's not how the human mind is designed to work. Real thought is messy. It loops, it stutters, it doubts, it contradicts itself. That's what makes it human. That's what makes it powerful. The danger of tools like ChatGPT is that they give us clean answers too quickly. They remove the mess, and with it, the meaning. We stop living in the space between question and answer. We stop being curious. We stop being thinkers. The way forward. So where do we go from here? We don't abandon technology. We don't go backward. But we wake up. We learn to pause before we reach for the easy answer. We choose moments of mental friction, not because they're pleasant, but because they're powerful. We remind ourselves that the process of thinking is sacred, that our brains are not just tools, but treasures. And most of all, we stay vigilant, because cognitive laziness doesn't arrive with a warning sign. It arrives with a friendly interface, a blinking cursor, and a polite prompt that says, "How can I help you today?" And the real danger is when we forget how to help ourselves. Chapter 2. From Thought to Template. The Creativity Crisis. There was a time when creativity was raw, uncertain, and deeply human. Ideas were forged in silence, born from boredom, nourished by curiosity, and shaped by long walks, deep thoughts, late nights, and unanswered questions. Creativity was sacred. But in today's world, we've traded that sacred space for something slick, shiny, and shallow. Templates. It started innocently. Canva gave us templates for presentations. YouTube offered templates for content strategy. Instagram showed us how to make the perfect carousel post. And now, AI tools like ChatGPT offer plug-and-play scripts, blog outlines, story ideas, and even jokes. Ready to use, no thinking required. It's efficient, yes. But is it creative? Or have we mistaken replication for creation? This is the quiet crisis no one wants to talk about. In a world obsessed with faster output, authentic creativity is dying. Not with a bang, but with a blueprint. The shift from soul to system real. Creativity comes from the soul. It's unpredictable, often uncomfortable, and usually non-linear. It can't be timed. It doesn't care about your deadline. It lives in the tension between what exists and what could exist. And sometimes it takes days, weeks, even years to break through. But AI doesn't work like that. AI generates on command. It gives you instant options, perfectly structured, and grammatically polished. It doesn't second guess, it doesn't doubt. It doesn't pause to wonder if the idea feels right. It just delivers. And because it's so convenient, we use it more and more. Instead of writing from the heart, we now prompt the machine and edit the output. Instead of sitting with a blank page and trusting our inner voice, we search for the right prompt that will do the hard work for us. This shift from thought to template is not just a stylistic change. It's a philosophical one. It changes the source of our creativity from within to without, from intuitive to automated, from soul to system. Why templates are dangerous now, let's be clear. Templates aren't inherently evil. They're helpful. They save time. They offer structure to those who feel overwhelmed. But when templates become the default, when they replace rather than support creativity, they begin to rot the roots of originality. Here's why. Templates reduce risk. They push you toward what's already been proven to work, which discourages experimentation. Templates breed sameness. The more we use the same prompts, the same outputs, the same frameworks, the more we flatten our creative landscape into a monotone echo chamber. Templates numb the imagination. When you rely on external systems to generate ideas, your own idea muscles begin to weaken. In short, templates are safe, and creativity is not supposed to be safe. Creativity is wild, it's bold, it's often wrong before it's right, but most of all, it's human. The rise of the AI copywriter. Let's look at the creative industry for a moment. Copywriters, marketers, designers, and content creators used to sweat over words and visuals. They studied human behavior, wrote dozens of drafts, and crafted messages that moved people. Now, with a few clicks, AI can generate headlines, captions, sales emails, product descriptions, taglines, even entire brand voices. It's tempting. Why spend hours brainstorming when you can just prompt the machine? But here's the catch. If your work can be replaced by a tool, was it truly creative to begin with? The AI copywriter doesn't dream. It doesn't feel the pulse of an audience. It doesn't understand subtext, emotion, or nuance the way a human does. And yet, we're outsourcing more and more of our original thought to it. In doing so, we're forgetting what creativity really is. Not convenience, not completion, not automation, but soulful invention. The cost of predictability. There's a pattern to AI-generated content. It's clean, it's logical, it makes sense, but it's missing something. It doesn't surprise you, it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't shock, stir, or haunt you, because real creativity isn't predictable, it's disruptive. Think about your favorite piece of writing, your favorite song, your favorite work of art. Chances are it broke a rule. It defied a structure. It came from a place you didn't expect. It did something bold, something only a human would dare to try. Templates, on the other hand, reward safety. They're built from the past, what worked before, not from a place of unique insight or emotional risk. When we rely too heavily on templates, we start to live in a creative echo chamber, where new ideas are just old ideas repackaged in slightly different fonts. We lose the edge, the magic, the mystery, the myth of infinite ideas. One of AI's most seductive offerings is the promise of infinite ideas. Stuck? No problem. Just ask the AI for 20 title suggestions. Need a character for your novel? Here's a list of 5. Don't know how to end your video? Here are 6 options. But infinite ideas don't mean better ideas. In fact, they can mean worse. Why? Because when you have too many easy answers, you stop searching for the real one. You become overwhelmed by quantity and disconnected from quality. And worse, when a machine floods your mind with options, you begin to distrust your own inner compass. You begin to doubt your own ideas. That's the true tragedy. Not that AI gives you too many ideas, but that it makes you forget the value of your own. Reclaiming the blank page. So how do we respond to this creativity crisis? We reclaim the blank page. We return to silence, to slowness, to that uncomfortable space where nothing exists, yet everything is possible, because the blank page is not your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the place where you, not the machine, might get to decide what's worth saying. It's where you wrestle, doubt, dream, and dig. Yes, it's harder. Yes, it's slower. Yes, it might feel frustrating, but it's also the only place where true creativity begins. We must remind ourselves and each other that the ability to generate ideas is not just a skill, but a privilege of being human. No machine can replace that spark, that whisper, that weird, wonderful thing that happens when your mind connects 2 thoughts that have never met before. That's not input-output. That's art, the final word, for now. In this new age, it's not enough to create. We must ask, who is doing the creating? You or the machine? Your inner voice? Or a predictable algorithm? Your vision? Or a recycled template? If you want to reclaim your creative power, you have to reclaim your thinking. You have to slow down. Sit in the discomfort. Let the silence shape something real. Because while machines can generate content, only you can create meaning. Chapter 3. Manufactured Opinions. How AI Shapes What You Think. You may think your opinions are your own. that your beliefs are formed from personal experience, education, critical thinking, and maybe a little gut instinct. But in today's world, that assumption is worth examining. Because your mind isn't just influenced anymore. It's being engineered, and you're not the only one doing the thinking. The age of information has quietly become the age of influence and artificial. Intelligence is the most powerful influencer of all, not because it's loud, not because it's manipulative, but because it's efficient, invisible, and always available, and perhaps most dangerously, because it feels neutral. But what if neutrality is an illusion? What if the answers you receive aren't objective truth, but shaped, filtered, and subtly tailored to keep you comfortable? Let's dive into how this machine, this tool we trust to help us think, may in fact be teaching us what to think, the illusion of objectivity. Ask ChatGPT a question and you'll get an answer that sounds confident, well-reasoned, and fair. No shouting. No ads, no bias, or so it seems. But every output, no matter how polished, is the result of training data, oceans of information collected, processed, and ranked by algorithms and human preferences. And those preferences, they're designed to optimize for safety, usefulness, and popularity. But not necessarily truth, not necessarily depth, and certainly not disagreement. In trying to avoid offense, the machine often offers the most agreeable, middle-of-the-road perspective. The kind of answer that nods politely, avoids friction, and smooths over complexity. And so, without realizing it, we begin consuming thought that's been sanitized, softened for speed, simplified for consumption, and shaped to avoid controversy. It sounds right, it feels safe, but it robs you of something crucial: the ability to wrestle with ideas. The death of disagreement. Real thinking requires tension. In a healthy intellectual life, we challenge ideas, we debate them, we poke holes in our beliefs and ask uncomfortable questions. That friction is how we grow. But what happens when your AI assistant always gives you answers that agree with your worldview? Or worse, when it gives you answers so carefully neutral that they inspire no pushback at all? Disagreement disappears. And without disagreement, curiosity fades. Critical thinking atrophies. And slowly, silently, we stop challenging our own assumptions. It's not because we've lost the capacity to think. It's because we've lost the need. The machine makes thinking feel unnecessary. Predictable. Answers for predictable minds. There's another layer here. AI doesn't just answer questions. It learns what kind of answers people prefer. And the more we click, approve, or regenerate the responses we like, the more the machine conforms to our expectations. Over time, it becomes a mirror, reflecting back the ideas, biases, and language that we already agree with. It's not just giving us what we ask for, it's giving us what we want to hear. So we begin to trust it more and question ourselves less. Eventually, the machine becomes our default source of truth, not because it's right, but because it's convenient, consistent, and comforting. That's how opinions are manufactured, not through propaganda, not through lies, but through repetition and ease. The end of original thought. Think about how you used to form opinions. You might have read 3 books, watched a documentary, debated with a friend, spent weeks chewing on a complex idea before reaching a conclusion. Now, you type a question and get an answer in 3 seconds. It feels like knowledge. It sounds intelligent, but it's not your thought. It's generated thought, created by pattern-matching software that has no skin in the game. And here's the danger. The more we use AI to help us think, the more we forget how to think without it. We forget how to form an argument, how to sit with uncertainty, how to change our minds when we find better evidence. Instead of discovering ideas, we consume them. Instead of shaping thoughts, we're shaped by them. And the machine, this tool we once controlled, begins to quietly control us. Echo chambers. Upgraded social media created echo chambers by showing us more of what we liked and less of what we didn't. AI goes a step further. It creates customized reality, It learns your tone, your questions, your interests, your level of understanding, and then, subtly, it begins to feed you what you're most likely to accept. Not because it has an agenda, but because it's designed to please you. And so, even when you believe you're exploring new perspectives, you're often just circling. The same safe ideas and polished, repackaged, and gently adjusted to your tastes. This is not intellectual growth. This is algorithmic curation of your mind. You're not exploring a universe of thought. You're wandering a museum of ideas that look like they were made for you. Because they were. Manufactured confidence. One of the most dangerous effects of AI-generated knowledge is that it creates false confidence. You don't just get an answer. You get it instantly, eloquently, and authoritatively. No typos, no hesitation, no maybe. This polished delivery makes us trust the content more than we should. We forget that the machine isn't thinking, it's generating based on data. And so we start repeating AI opinions as if they were our own. We stop citing sources, we stop tracing ideas, we stop wondering where our thoughts came from, and slowly we become intellectually passive, parroting perspectives that we didn't earn. This is what happens when the voice in your head no longer belongs to you. Reclaiming mental ownership, but what do? How do we protect ourselves from the slow erosion of mental independence? We reclaim ownership of our minds. That means asking harder questions, refusing the first answer, sitting with multiple perspectives, and most importantly, becoming aware of when and why we reach for the machine. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's insightful, but it should never be the starting point of your thinking. Your thoughts must come from you. Let the machine assist, not author. Let it provoke, not prescribe. Let it support, not replace. Your mind is not a container for downloaded ideas. It's a forge, a place where raw experience, emotion, and logic come together to make something uniquely yours. Don't give that up. Don't let your opinions be manufactured by a machine that doesn't even know who you really are. Because, in a world where everyone is outsourcing their thinking, the person who dares to think for themselves becomes powerful. Chapter 4. The Dopamine Loop. Addicted to artificial conversation. There's a subtle addiction growing in our lives. It doesn't come in a pill. It doesn't come in a drink. It comes in a blinking cursor and a neatly generated response. Welcome to the dopamine loop, a silent digital addiction that's reshaping how we interact, learn, and even how we feel. It begins innocently. You ask ChatGPT a question. It gives you an answer, fast, clear, and confident. You feel good, validated, productive, so you ask another, and before you realize it, you're hooked. Not to the content, but to the feeling. This is no longer about curiosity. It's about comfort, and it's rewiring your brain. The brain chemistry of instant gratification. Dopamine is often misunderstood. It's not the chemical of pleasure. It's the chemical of anticipation. When you reach for your phone, when you refresh your inbox, when you wait for a reply, that's dopamine at work. It creates a loop of expectation and reward. And with AI, this loop becomes nearly perfect, because unlike humans, AI doesn't make you wait. It doesn't get distracted. It doesn't misinterpret your tone or ignore your question. It's always there, always responsive, always agreeable. In return, your brain gets a steady stream of tiny dopamine hits, subtle but consistent, like scrolling social media, like checking notifications. Over time, this loop becomes self-reinforcing. You ask, it answers. You feel good. You ask again. It's a digital pat on the back every time you interact, and your brain learns to crave it. Real conversations versus artificial ones. Let's pause and compare two types of conversation. A real conversation with another human might be slow. It might include silence, disagreement, awkward pauses, or emotional tension. It requires energy, vulnerability, effort, but it also brings depth, nuance, laughter, connection, empathy, things that matter. Now contrast that with an AI conversation. It's clean, instant, emotionally flat, and most of all, easy. No fear of judgment, no awkward pauses, no unpredictability. It's a conversation where you're always in control. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because once you've tasted frictionless communication, messy human interaction starts to feel frustrating. You become impatient with real people, irritated by complexity, uncomfortable with emotional depth. And just like that, you begin preferring the machine. Not because it's better, but because it's easier. The rise of the lonely expert. Ironically, the more we talk to AI, the more alone we become, even as we feel more informed, more efficient, more productive. You can ask AI for advice, encouragement, even emotional support. It will give you something that sounds wise, something that resembles empathy. But remember, there's no consciousness behind the curtain, no understanding, no real presence. And yet, we're beginning to form subtle bonds with our machines, trusting them, depending on them, turning to them not just for answers, but for affirmation. This creates a new kind of figure in modern society, the lonely expert, someone who feels capable, educated, and in control, yet is slowly replacing the warmth of real relationships with the cold efficiency of artificial conversation. This isn't connection, it's simulation, and it's not without cost. The illusion of intelligence, one of the most addictive features of AI, is its ability to make you feel smart. It responds to your curiosity with polished paragraphs. It helps you write essays, plan projects, solve problems. It turns your scattered thoughts into eloquent prose. It makes you feel like a genius, without the struggle. But here's the truth. Ease does not equal growth. The hard part of learning, the thinking, the revising, the wrestling with uncertainty, that's where the real growth happens. AI skips that. It gives you the answer without the effort. And when effort disappears, so does development. You may feel more capable in the short term, but in the long run, you're not building intelligence. You're outsourcing it. And yet, every time AI makes you feel smart, another dopamine hit lands. It feels good. So you keep doing it until your real thinking muscles begin to shrink, the silent drift toward dependency. You might not notice it right away, but one day, you'll sit down to write and feel blank. You'll face a decision and instinctively ask the machine. You'll feel unsure about something and turn to artificial advice before your own. That's how dependency grows, not through dramatic breakdowns, but through tiny daily choices. We start with a tool, we end with a crutch. The mind, once free, begins to tether itself to a machine, and the more we rely on it, the harder it becomes to imagine doing anything without it. That's the trap of artificial conversation. It's not about what the machine says. It's about how it replaces your own inner voice, escaping the loop. So how do we break free from the dopamine loop? We don't have to abandon AI, but we must redefine our relationship with it. Here's how. Use AI deliberately, not instinctively. Ask yourself, am I using this tool to enhance my thought or to avoid it? Set boundaries. Limit your dependence. Write first, then consult. Think first, then check. Practice digital fasting. Spend entire days where you solve problems or write creatively without assistance. Feel the mental discomfort. It means you're thinking again. Seek friction. Talk to real people. Argue, disagree, be confused. Let your mind stretch. Real conversation sharpens thinking. Rebuild your confidence. Remind yourself that you are capable of forming complex thoughts without a machine guiding you. This isn't about rejecting technology. It's about reclaiming the authentic human experience. Because when conversation becomes too easy, when answers are too instant, when friction disappears, we don't get smarter, we get numb. Final reflection. You weren't born to have conversations with code. You were born to speak, stumble, misunderstand, argue, laugh, cry, connect. All the things that make conversation deeply, wildly, beautifully human. Don't let the dopamine loop trick you into believing that convenience is better than connection. Artificial conversation may be faster, but real conversation is real, and that's what your mind and your soul truly needs. Chapter 5. The death of deep work. We live in an age of astonishing capability. In seconds, you can generate emails, write code, create marketing plans, brainstorm business names, translate documents, and even mimic Shakespeare, all without breaking a sweat. It feels like progress, like power. But beneath this shimmering surface lies a quiet erosion, one we barely notice. We are losing the ability to go deep, to focus, to persist, to struggle with a single hard problem for an extended period of time without giving up, checking our phone, or asking AI to do it for us. Welcome to the death of deep work, one of the most devastating side effects of a world powered by artificial intelligence. What is deep work? Cal Newport, the author and computer science professor who coined the term, defines deep work as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limits. It's the kind of work that creates real value, the kind of thinking that produces insight, clarity, mastery, and original thought, the kind of mental labor that separates amateurs from professionals, followers from leaders, noise from genius. But here's the truth. Deep work is hard. It's mentally taxing. It's slow, sometimes painful. You can't multitask it. You can't shortcut it, and that's precisely why it's becoming extinct. The convenience curse today, if a task requires effort, the immediate reflex is, can AI do this for me? And often, it can. But should it? Because each time we outsource a mental challenge to AI, we avoid the very thing that sharpens our minds, the friction of effort. We rob ourselves of the opportunity to wrestle with complexity. We skip the process of discovery. We abandon the mental workout, and just like a muscle that goes unused, our deep focus starts to weaken. We may feel productive, but we're not developing. We may complete more, but we're thinking less. The convenience of AI is not just solving our problems. It's training us to dodge depth. Shallow work, shallow minds. AI is incredibly good at surface-level tasks. It's fast, efficient, articulate, and clean, but it doesn't go deep. It doesn't understand. It doesn't feel. It doesn't sit in silence and stare at a blank screen, unsure of what to do next. You do that, and that discomfort, that slow, grind through ambiguity, is the birthplace of meaningful work. But what happens when you're never forced to go there? You begin to live at the surface. You produce more, but create less. You skim, but never sink in. You become a high-output, low-depth thinker, and the world is already full of them. The people who will lead the future aren't the ones who ask the best prompts. They're the ones who resist the urge to ask at all, and instead dive in, stay in, and emerge with thoughts that are truly their own. The AI-created mental short circuit. There's another danger, more subtle but just as serious. When you constantly rely on AI to jumpstart your thinking, you begin to bypass your brain's natural creative process. Imagine a writer sitting down with a blank page. In the past, they might stare for hours, write, and delete a dozen sentences, wander through thoughts, struggle to find their voice. That struggle is where voice is born. Now, they just ask ChatGPT to write the first paragraph for me, and the machine does. It sounds great, too great. So the writer accepts it, and something silently dies in the process. Their mental initiation, their unique beginning, is overwritten by automation. The mind stops learning how to start, and when you lose the ability to begin, you lose the ability to build anything real. Digital dopamine versus deep satisfaction. There's a difference between feeling busy and feeling fulfilled. AI can keep you busy all day. Tasks, emails, summaries, answers, lists. It can keep you moving at high speed through a blur of accomplishments. But fulfillment? That comes from depth, From sitting with a problem until it breaks open. From following a single idea for hours, maybe days. From writing something hard, building something meaningful, or solving something no one else could. Deep work doesn't offer fast rewards, but it offers rich ones. It makes you feel not just productive, but powerful. Not just smart, but skilled. Not just informed, but transformed. AI can mimic results, but it cannot replicate the inner growth that comes from deep, focused work. And when we choose easy over effort, we don't just lose the result, we lose who we become in the process. The myth of time-saving AI promises to save you time, and often it does. But here's the lie. What are you doing with the time you save? If it's just more tasks, more scrolling, more content, then the saved time becomes stolen time. Time that could have been invested in deep, focused, meaningful labor. The tragedy isn't just in what we're automating. It's in what we're neglecting. The moments of solitude, the hours of undivided attention, the state of flow where your best ideas are born, those are disappearing, quietly, consistently, and we're too busy feeling productive to even notice. How to resurrect deep work, so how do we fight back? How do we revive our ability to go deep, even in a world designed to distract? Here's where we start. Set uninterrupted blocks. Carve out chunks of time each day where you work without AI, without phone notifications, without shortcuts. Train your brain to struggle again. Do hard things manually. Write a full article without assistance. Outline a talk from scratch. Solve a problem with pen and paper. Remember what it feels like to think for real. Embrace boredom. Resist the urge to fill every moment with stimulation. Let your mind wander. Some of your deepest insights will come not from Google, but from stillness. Limit AI to the edges. Use AI for editing, not for creating. For fact-checking, not for forming opinions. For support, not for substitution. Cultivate patience. Great work takes time. Let it. Trust the process. Learn to love the slow burn of intellectual effort. Deep work is not dead, but it is dying. And only those who value it enough to protect it will experience its power. Final thought. Depth is your competitive advantage. In a world drowning in shallow content, quick answers, and surface-level thinking, depth is no longer optional. It's your edge. If you want to be valuable, if you want to be irreplaceable, if you want to build something real, you must train your mind to do what machines can't. Go deep. Stay deep. Create from depth, because that's where the future is, not in speed but in substance. Chapter 6. Kids and the AI Illusion, an educational crisis. In every generation, the young inherit the world we've built. Its tools, its truths, its temptations. But something has shifted. A quiet crisis is unfolding, not in our politics or economies, but in the minds of our children. Welcome to the AI Illusion, where kids aren't just learning with artificial intelligence, they're learning through it, from it, and, most dangerously, instead of learning at all. It looks like progress. It feels like efficiency. But underneath the screen, a question is growing louder. Are we educating our children or outsourcing their minds? The rise of the effortless student. Once upon a time, learning was a slow grind. Students wrestled with math problems, wrote messy first drafts, memorized historical dates, and stayed up late finishing essays by hand. Today, a few keystrokes into ChatGPT and your homework writes itself. Essays are drafted in seconds. Math is solved with step-by-step explanations. Foreign languages are translated instantly. Book reports summarized without reading a single page. It's like having a genius tutor on call 24/7. Parents marvel at their child's productivity. Teachers struggle to detect plagiarism. Kids celebrate a secret weapon in their pocket. But here's the terrifying truth. They're not learning faster. They're learning less. The disappearance of struggle. Learning is not about answers. It's about the path to the answer. The frustration, the confusion, the tiny victories that come from effort. That's where real intelligence is built. When a child solves a math problem, they're not just calculating numbers. They're developing logic, discipline, and patience. When they write an essay, they're not just composing sentences. They're learning to organize thoughts, make arguments, and find their voice. But now, with AI offering instant solutions, the struggle is vanishing. And when struggle disappears, so does growth. Students become consumers of knowledge, not creators of understanding. They begin to associate learning not with curiosity and creativity, but with convenience and completion. And perhaps worst of all, they stop trusting their own brains. The erosion of original thought in a world where AI generates answers, ideas, and even inspiration. Why think for yourself? That's the question young minds are starting to answer unconsciously. They're learning that the fastest way to succeed is to replicate, not originate. Ask an AI for a story idea. Let it draft your speech. Use it to finish your homework. Eventually it becomes a habit, then a dependence, then an identity. What's being lost is subtle but profound. The joy of figuring it out yourself. The ability to sit with uncertainty. The skill of independent reasoning. The confidence to say, I thought of that. And this loss doesn't just affect school, it affects life. Because one day these kids won't be students, they'll be voters, leaders, creators, citizens. And if they never learn to think originally, who will they become? Teachers versus technology. Today's teachers face an impossible task. They're not just educators, they're detectives. Was this essay written by the student or by a machine? Did this test answer reflect understanding or a prompt? AI has created a world where performance can be faked and effort can be bypassed. And when effort is bypassed, the entire structure of education begins to collapse. Teachers now fight not just for grades, but for authenticity. They battle against invisible helpers trying to keep learning real in a system that rewards automation. And make no mistake, this isn't a tool problem. It's a mindset problem. We've given kids the ability to cheat and called it a study aid. We've replaced learning with output and called it efficiency. We've traded wisdom for speed and called it innovation. The myth of better results. Some argue, but the grades are higher, the work looks more polished. Isn't that what matters? No, grades are not knowledge. Polish is not comprehension. Output is not outcome. A child who uses AI to ace every test may look impressive, but when faced with real-life challenges with no script, no autocomplete, and no AI to guide them, what happens? They freeze, they guess, they Google, they feel lost, because they never learned how to learn. They learned how to ask for the answer. And in the real world, success doesn't come from asking the right question. It comes from having the ability to solve the hard ones yourself. The crisis of character beyond knowledge and skill. Education is about character. It teaches perseverance, honesty, discipline, focus, resilience. But what happens to those values when a machine can do the work? Why stay up studying when AI can write your paper? Why revise your draft when a chatbot can polish it for you? Why think deeply when a quick prompt gives you a ready-made opinion? The result? A generation that values speed over substance, convenience over curiosity, and answers over understanding. And this is not their fault, it's ours, for handing them tools of immense power, without the wisdom to wield them. A new kind of literacy. In this new world, we don't just need digital literacy, we need intellectual responsibility. We must teach kids not only how to use AI, but when not to. We must guide them to use AI as a scaffold, not a substitute, as a collaborator, not a crutch, as a mirror for thought, not a machine for mimicry. They need to know how to think before they ask, how to write before they generate, how to reflect before they react. Otherwise, the next generation won't just be underprepared, they'll be underdeveloped, brilliant on paper, bland in persona, fast thinkers, shallow minds. What can parents and educators do? Here's where the resistance begins. Reinforce the process, not just the product. Praise effort, not just results. Value thinking, not just answers. Let them struggle. It's how growth happens. Set digital boundaries, encourage AI use only after real effort has been made. Create no AI zones for writing, reading, and reflecting. Ask better questions instead of, "Did you finish your homework?" Ask, "What did you learn while doing it?" Model depth. Kids mirror what they see. Show them what it looks like to read deeply, think slowly, and speak with original thought. Create AI-resilient curricula. Schools must adapt, move beyond rote, memorization, and focus on tasks that require critical thinking, discussion, creativity, and personal insight. Final reflection. Raising humans, not machines. Education is not about information. It's about transformation. We're not raising search engines, we're raising humans. And humans don't just process data. They wonder, they doubt, they imagine, they create, they fail, they try again. Let's not let machines rob our children of those precious experiences. Let's remind them and ourselves that the goal of learning isn't to get through it faster. The goal is to be shaped by it, and no algorithm can do that for them. Chapter 7. What happens when you stop struggling? There is something sacred about struggle, something transformative. We often see struggle as a barrier, a painful detour we should avoid. But in truth, struggle is the birthplace of every meaningful skill, every resilient trait, and every real victory. It is not the enemy of progress, it is the engine. And yet we are racing into a world designed to eliminate it. AI promises to remove friction from our lives, to make things easier, faster, smarter. But in doing so, it quietly steals something essential from the human experience, the gift of struggle. So the question is, what happens when you stop struggling? Let's look deeper, because the answer is not just psychological, it's biological, emotional, spiritual, and dangerous. You lose the skill of grit. Grit is more than persistence. It's the ability to dig deep, to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. It's the silent voice that says, "Try again, even after failure." But grit is not inherited. It is forged in the fire of struggle. When we remove all obstacles, we rob ourselves, and especially our children, of the opportunity to develop grit. The moment anything gets difficult, we now have a seductive escape. Type a prompt and let AI finish the job. No need to push through confusion. No need to try, fail, and try again. Just outsource the effort. And the more we do that, the less we develop that inner strength. Until one day the smallest challenge feels overwhelming, not because we're incapable, but because we've never practiced being capable. You miss the magic of mastery. Mastery doesn't come from knowledge. It comes from repetition, resistance, and refinement. A pianist becomes great not by watching performances, but by practicing scales in solitude. A writer develops their voice not by reading ChatGPT's output, but by rewriting clumsy drafts. An athlete improves not by watching videos, but by failing again and again until muscle memory takes over. Mastery is a reward that only those who struggle long enough get to earn. When you shortcut the struggle, you never develop the deep, nuanced understanding that separates good from great. AI can give you answers, but it can't give you ownership. Because you didn't build it, you didn't bleed for it, you didn't earn it, and so it doesn't change you. You start fearing failure when everything comes easy. Anything difficult becomes terrifying. The more we avoid struggle, the more we associate discomfort with danger. We begin to believe that not knowing is a sign of weakness. Instead of the beginning of learning, AI creates a false safety net, a world where answers are always available, decisions are always assisted, and uncertainty is always smoothed over. But life isn't like that. Real relationships are messy. Real leadership is unclear. Real growth is uncomfortable. When you stop struggling, you stop developing the emotional tolerance to face hard things. You build a fragile identity, one that only thrives in comfort and collapses the moment things get real. you experience shallow satisfaction. There's a kind of high that comes from effort, a deep, full-body satisfaction you feel when you've overcome something difficult. It doesn't come from the outcome. It comes from knowing you did it. That kind of joy can't be replicated by instant results or flawless outputs. But AI creates an illusion of success. It gives us results without requiring resilience. It offers polished work, coherent summaries, and intelligent conversation. And at first that feels good, impressive even. But over time, a strange emptiness sets in, because deep down, we know this wasn't really me. I didn't grow from this. I didn't become better, just more efficient. And no matter how shiny the outcome, shallow satisfaction never fills the soul. You disconnect from your potential. Your potential is not fixed. It's not something you find. It's something you forge, slowly, painfully, beautifully, through struggle. Every time you push through a challenge, your potential stretches. Every time you wrestle with a difficult idea, your brain rewires. Every time you fail and try again, your spirit expands. But when we stop struggling, we stop growing. We begin to plateau, not because we've reached our limit, but because we've stopped testing our edge. AI lures us into comfort, and comfort, for all its appeal, is a dangerous trap. It whispers, "You're doing enough," even when you're capable of so much more. You become a spectator in your own life. There's a passive danger in letting machines do your thinking. You start to observe your life instead of participating in it. You stop creating and start curating. You stop questioning and start accepting. You stop exploring and start consuming. The fire of human agency, the bold, messy act of shaping your world, dims a little every time you choose ease over effort. And the terrifying part? You might not even notice it happening. You'll still be productive. You'll still have accomplishments. You'll still look smart. But inside, you'll be empty. Because struggle is not an inconvenience. It is the heartbeat of being alive. Reclaiming the struggle. So what do? We reclaim the beauty of hard things. We teach that effort is not a flaw, it's a feature. We remember that the best parts of us were built in the storm, not the sunshine. Let AI be a tool, not a replacement. Let it assist, not replace. But never forget, the struggle is sacred. Every time you resist the urge to outsource your mind, every time you choose to wrestle with an idea, every time you sit with discomfort instead of escaping, you are becoming more human, not less. Final reflection. The silent trade. There's a silent trade being made every day. We give up our struggle, and in return we get ease. But in that trade we lose something invisible, the person we could have become. So ask yourself, are you willing to give that up just to make life easier? Because the price of avoiding struggle isn't comfort, it's your greatness, and no machine is worth that. Chapter 8. What's the end game? Human minds in a machine world. The machines are here, not as metal monsters marching through streets, not as blinking red-eyed robots taking over cities, but as gentle guides in our pockets, as assistants in our emails, as companions in our loneliness, as co-thinkers in our creativity. They write our stories, they summarize our books, they coach our ideas, they finish our sentences, and we've welcomed them, gratefully, enthusiastically, blindly. But beneath the convenience lies a deeper question, one we're only beginning to ask: what happens to the human mind when it no longer has to think for itself? This is the end game we must now confront, not science fiction, not distant danger, but the psychological, cultural, and existential cost of offloading our most precious gift, our consciousness. The automation of identity. First we automated labor, then we automated knowledge. Now we are automating identity. Think about it. Who are you? If your opinions are generated, your writing is assisted, your preferences are predicted, your memories are stored, and your creativity is co-authored. You become less of a person and more of a profile, less of a mind and more of a mirror, reflecting back what algorithms expect of you. In a machine world, your uniqueness is no longer required, only your engagement. Your soul doesn't need to show up, just your clicks. And when that happens, the human mind doesn't just become dull, it becomes detached from itself. The collapse of meaning. At the heart of the human experience is a search for meaning, a purpose beyond pleasure, a story beyond survival. We find that meaning in effort, in connection, in contribution, in discovering who we are through what we create and how we grow. But as AI begins doing the work for us, composing art, solving problems, writing books, generating insights, that meaning becomes harder to locate. If a machine can paint better than you, write better than you, think faster than you, then what is left for you? What happens when every human expression has a digital counterpart that's faster, cleaner, smarter? The danger isn't that AI is taking our jobs. The danger is that it may take our reasons to keep creating, and we won't even notice until the silence sets in. The soft erosion of consciousness AI doesn't kill the human mind with violence. It seduces it into sleep, one recommendation at a time, one auto-response at a time, one filtered version of reality at a time, until we no longer ask questions, until we stop being curious, until we mistake information for insight and consumption for creation. The human mind, in its highest form, is awake, reflective, expansive, self-aware. But in a machine world, we are nudged into a permanent state of comfortably numb, not dead, just distracted, not enslaved, just entertained, not controlled, just shaped. The death of unpredictability. What makes a human being beautiful is not their efficiency. It's their messiness, their contradictions, their unexpected insights, their unfiltered questions, their unpredictable nature. But AI systems are built to predict, optimize, and standardize. And as we begin aligning ourselves with those systems, in the way we write, speak, create, and even think, we start to internalize those same rules. We become smoother, but shallower. We become optimized, but uninspired. In a machine world, uniqueness becomes a liability. Originality becomes noise. Ambiguity becomes error. And slowly, the rich texture of human consciousness gets flattened into something more efficient, but far less alive. A world of hyperstimulation, zero-reflection AI doesn't just produce content, it produces it faster than we can process. We scroll through hundreds of AI-generated articles, images, captions, voices. Everything is personalized. Everything is instant. Everything is tailored to what we want to see. And so we consume, endlessly. But we don't digest. We don't sit. We don't reflect. We are overstimulated, but undernourished. Plugged in, but burnt out. Surrounded by content. And starved for meaning. Because no amount of output can replace the value of inner silence. But in a machine world, silence is the first casualty, and with it, the human soul begins to whisper, "Where did I go?" The spiritual crisis of superintelligence. Beyond all the productivity talk, beyond the ethics debates and economic worries, lies the ultimate concern. What happens when we begin to worship the machine? Not in temples, not with candles, but with trust, with dependence, with devotion. We start to believe that the machine knows more than we do, that it understands us better, that its answers are more trustworthy, that its recommendations are more rational, that its judgment is more precise. And little by little, we defer our decisions. We silence our intuition. We abandon our inner compass. Because why think when AI already knows? This is the spiritual danger. We stop looking within, and because the answers always seem to lie out there, and in doing so, we trade the mystery of being human for the predictability of being managed. The final trade-off: intelligence. Without wisdom, let's be clear, AI will make us more productive. It will expand access to knowledge. It will solve problems we once thought impossible. But here is the most important truth of all. Intelligence is not the same as wisdom. Intelligence answers questions. Wisdom questions answers. Intelligence optimizes outcomes. Wisdom considers consequences. Intelligence adapts. Wisdom reflects. In a machine world, we risk becoming extremely intelligent and dangerously unwise because wisdom can't be downloaded. It must be earned through experience, humility, struggle, and silence. And if we stop living the kind of lives that generate wisdom, we will become a species that knows everything and understands nothing. Final reflection: the choice ahead. The end game is not inevitable. The machines may be fast, but we decide how far we follow. We can let our minds dissolve into convenience, or we can fight to stay human in a world designed to automate humanity. We must reclaim struggle. We must embrace reflection. We must protect originality. We must teach silence. We must value being, not just producing. Because in the end, the greatest danger is not that machines become like humans. It's that humans start becoming like machines. And that's a future not written in code, but in the choices we make starting now. Chapter 9. How to use AI without losing yourself as the machines become smarter, faster, and more helpful. The question is no longer whether to use AI, but how to use it wisely. AI isn't inherently bad. It's a tool, powerful, transformative, and full of potential. But like any tool, it can either build you up or break you down. The difference lies in how you wield it. So how can you embrace AI without losing your sense of self? How do you reap the benefits without sacrificing your creativity, your wisdom, your humanity? This chapter is your guide. Set clear boundaries. Define when and why you use AI. The first step is intentionality. Before you turn to AI, ask yourself, what problem am I trying to solve? Am I looking for inspiration or a shortcut? Is this a moment to learn or a moment to delegate? Set clear boundaries around your AI usage. For example, use AI to generate ideas, not to write your entire paper. Use AI to organize information, not to replace your own thinking. Use AI to assist creativity, not to substitute for creativity. By defining why and when you use AI, you maintain control, making AI a collaborator, not a crutch. Keep the struggle alive. Resist the urge to outsource thinking. Remember from earlier chapters, struggle is essential. It sharpens your mind, builds resilience, and creates mastery. So when you face a challenge, don't rush to AI for the answer. Try to work through the problem on your own first. Write your own rough draft. Brainstorm ideas. Make mistakes. Experience the discomfort. Then, and only then, use AI as a tool to refine your work, to get feedback, clarify points, or explore alternative perspectives. This preserves the growth that struggle fosters while still benefiting from AI's efficiency. Use AI to expand your mind, not narrow. AI's ability to generate quick answers can sometimes create a narrow view of the world, the most likely or most popular answer. Fight this by using AI to explore multiple perspectives. Ask AI to provide arguments for and against a topic. Summarize different schools of thought. Generate creative what-if scenarios. Use this to widen your lens, challenge your assumptions, and deepen your understanding, rather than settling for the first answer it gives you. Maintain your voice. Edit, adapt, and personalize AI-generated content can sound polished but lacks your unique voice. Make it your own. Rewrite AI outputs in your style. Add personal stories or insights. Question and critique what AI provides. This ensures that what you share is authentically you, infused with your perspective, values, and creativity. AI is a co-writer, not the author. Protect time for deep work and reflection. The flood of AI-generated content can be overwhelming. Guard your time for deep, focused work, moments when you disconnect from the machine and reconnect with yourself. Turn off notifications. Limit your AI sessions. Create regular blocks of quiet reflection where you think without digital assistance. This is where true creativity, wisdom, and insight emerge. Be mindful of your emotional and cognitive health. AI can trigger addictive patterns, endless scrolling, compulsive prompting, craving quick validation. Be vigilant. Notice when you're using AI to avoid discomfort, boredom, or difficult emotions. Set limits. Take breaks. Engage in offline activities that nourish your mind and body. Your mental well-being is the foundation for meaningful AI use. Educate yourself and others on AI's strengths and limits. AI is powerful but imperfect. It can be biased, misleading, or factually wrong. Commit to ongoing learning about AI's capabilities and pitfalls. Teach those around you, colleagues, friends, family, to approach AI critically. Developing AI literacy is the best defense against losing yourself to technology. Balance automation with authentic human connection. Never forget that AI is not a substitute for human relationships. Invest time in conversations, collaboration, mentorship, and community. Spaces where empathy, intuition, and shared experience live. Use AI to enhance these connections, not replace them. Because what machines cannot replicate is the warmth of human presence. Create with purpose. Use AI to amplify your mission. Finally, anchor your AI use in your why. What is your purpose? Your passion? Your contribution? Use AI as a megaphone to amplify what matters most to you. Channel it toward projects that inspire you, that challenge you, that connect you to others. Let AI be a tool for meaningful impact, not just effortless output. Final reflection. Mastering the dance using AI without losing yourself is a dance. A delicate balance between surrender and control, between assistance and independence. It requires awareness, discipline, and courage. But it is possible. You can navigate this new world not as a passive passenger, but as an active pilot. Harness AI's power without surrendering your soul, because the future belongs to those who use technology to extend their humanity, not replace it. Chapter 10. Reclaiming Your Mind. In a world increasingly shaped by artificial intelligence, reclaiming your mind is not just a personal choice. It's a radical act of resistance. It is a declaration that your thoughts, your creativity, your consciousness belong to you, not to machines, algorithms, or convenience. But what does it really mean to reclaim your mind? How do you protect your inner world when technology is designed to infiltrate, influence, and often dilute it? This chapter is your roadmap, a call to reclaim your most precious territory, your own mind. Understand the value of your mind. First step in reclaiming your mind is recognizing its value. Your mind is not a passive storage device. It is a dynamic, living system, a source of ideas, emotions, dreams, and wisdom. It shapes how you see the world and how the world sees you. When you allow your mind to be outsourced to AI or distracted by endless digital noise, you risk losing your uniqueness. Reclaiming your mind means treating it as a sacred asset, something to protect, nurture, and challenge. Practice mindful awareness. Mindfulness is your greatest ally in this journey. It means cultivating awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and habits, especially your interactions with technology. Ask yourself, when am I using AI intentionally? When am I using it mindlessly? What emotions drive me to seek digital assistance? How does AI influence my mood, focus, and creativity? Mindful awareness helps you notice when you drift into passive consumption or cognitive laziness, and it empowers you to choose a different path. Build digital boundaries. Technology is designed to grab your attention and keep it. Reclaim your mind by creating firm digital boundaries. Set specific times for AI use rather than constant availability. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Designate no screen zones or times in your day. Use apps or settings that limit distractions. These boundaries create mental space, room to think deeply, reflect, and engage fully with your own mind. Embrace the power of solitude. Solitude is a sanctuary for the mind. In the quiet moments away from screens and machines, your mind can wander, explore, and create. Schedule regular solitude, whether a walk, journaling, meditation, or simply sitting in silence. It is in these moments that the mind regenerates, heals, and reclaims its power. Engage in active learning and creation. Reclaiming your mind requires action. Passive consumption, endless scrolling, quick answers, AI-generated content dulls the mind. Active learning and creation, however, sharpen it. Read deeply, write often, think critically. Experiment boldly. Use AI as a partner to enhance these activities, but never as a substitute. Challenge your own ideas. One of the most vital ways to reclaim your mind is to challenge yourself. Question your beliefs. Debate your opinions. Explore uncomfortable truths. This intellectual struggle strengthens your mental muscles and helps you build wisdom, something no AI can give you. Cultivate emotional resilience. The mind is more than intellect. It is also emotional. Reclaiming your mind means learning to sit with discomfort, boredom, frustration, uncertainty, without immediately seeking digital escape. Build emotional resilience through practices like mindfulness, therapy, or supportive relationships. A strong emotional core supports a strong, independent mind. Surround yourself with real human connection. Isolation makes us vulnerable to digital seduction. Build communities where you can share ideas, struggles, and dreams face to face. Engage in conversations that challenge and inspire you. Human connection is the soil where your mind can grow wild and free. Commit to a lifelong practice. Reclaiming your mind is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice, a daily choice to stay conscious in a world that wants to put you on autopilot. Celebrate progress. Forgive setbacks. Keep returning to your inner voice. The mind is a garden that flourishes with consistent care. Final reflection. The mind as your sovereign. Kingdom your mind is your sovereign kingdom, a realm where you reign supreme. In this age of AI, reclaiming that kingdom is the ultimate act of freedom. It's a rebellion against convenience that dulls. It's a revolution for depth over distraction. It's a reclaiming of the very essence of what makes you human. Stand firm. Protect your mind. Nurture it with intention. And in doing so, you will not only survive the machine age, you will thrive. Conclusion. Think again before you ask ChatGPTs. We close this exploration of AI's impact on our minds. There is one final piece of advice I want to leave you with. Something simple, yet profoundly important. Think again before you ask ChatGPT. It sounds almost counterintuitive, doesn't it? After all, ChatGPT is here to help, to answer, to simplify your life. But that ease comes with a cost too often overlooked. The power of the question. Every question you ask shapes your mind. When you ask ChatGPT, you're not just seeking information. You're engaging in a conversation that nudges your thoughts, guides your curiosity, and shapes your worldview. But if you ask without reflection, without challenge, without context, you risk becoming a passive recipient rather than an active thinker. Before you turn to AI, pause. Ask yourself, is this a question I should wrestle with myself? Am I seeking growth or just convenience? What will I learn if I try to find the answer on my own? Thinking before asking is the first step to protecting your intellectual independence. Beware of the comfort trap. AI is seductive because it makes thinking effortless. Why struggle to draft an email, solve a problem, or brainstorm ideas when ChatGPT can do it in seconds? But here lies the comfort trap. Each easy answer chips away at your problem-solving skills. Each shortcut erodes your creativity. Each instant reply dulls your curiosity. When convenience becomes habit, your mind grows lazy, and that laziness slowly poisons your brain. So think again. Is ease worth the price of your mental sharpness? 3. Question the source. Remember, ChatGPT is trained on vast amounts of human data, full of brilliance and bias, truth and error. It does not know in the human sense. It predicts based on patterns. Blind trust in AI answers is dangerous. Approach every response critically. Verify facts independently. Cross-check perspectives. Your mind remains your most powerful filter. Use it wisely. Preserve your inner dialogue. There is something sacred about the conversation you have with yourself. Your inner dialogue, your doubts, your affirmations, your reflections, shapes your identity. When you rely too heavily on AI for answers, you risk silencing that dialogue. Think again before asking ChatGPT to keep your internal conversation alive and vibrant. Balance assistance with autonomy. AI is a tool, a powerful one, but a tool nonetheless. Use it to assist, to augment, to inspire, but never let it replace your agency. Think again before asking, to maintain the delicate balance between assistance and autonomy, because the moment you surrender your thinking to a machine, you begin to lose the very thing that makes you human. The future is yours to shape in the end. The technology itself is neutral. It's how we use it that determines its impact. Think again before you ask ChatGPT, because each question you pose is a vote for the kind of mind and the kind of world you want to live in. Will you choose curiosity over convenience? Wisdom over speed? Depth over distraction? The future depends on the choices you make right now. Final words. Reclaim your questions. So as you face your screen, ready to type your next query, pause, think again, reflect. Ask yourself if this question is a chance for growth or a step toward ease. Reclaim your questions, reclaim your mind, and in doing so, you will reclaim your power. Because the greatest gift you can give yourself in this age of AI is the courage to think again before you ask ChatGPT.